7,600 meters in the air. This is the moment a skydiver jumps out of a plane without a parachute. Luke Akins is no stranger to having the wind in his face.
I got about 20,000 skydives at this point in my career, and I love the freedom. I mean, there's no experience like that in the world.
Well, it certainly is an amateur hour, but it's still a hard sell to separate a free-falling man from his parachute.
They called me up and they said, "Hey, Luke, you're the guy for this. We want you to jump out of a plane without a parachute." I laughed. I said, "Thanks, but no thanks. I have a wife and a son and a life, and it's not for me."
Sounds perfectly reasonable. But it wasn't long until Luke's curiosity got the better of him.
I kept waking up at night thinking, if I had to do this, how could you do it? That's when we came up with this net idea, landing in a net.
So Operation Panic Your Partner got into full swing. Luke started crunching the numbers.
I'm not into something where you gotta flip a coin and see if it's gonna work. I really wanted to have science behind it.
Fair play, mate. And if it's science you want, Russell's your man.
This stunt sounds awesome. I'm super excited to see how he manages to pull this off. But in order for it to kind of be successful, 3 things have to happen. First of all, he needs to make sure he hits the net dead on center. And he's got 25,000 feet of air, which could potentially blow him sideways. And if he misses the net, that's gonna hurt quite a lot.
Quite a lot? Come on, Russ, if he misses the net, they'll be taking him home in a carrier bag.
Secondly, he needs to make sure that he is able to turn himself around in time so he lands on his back. And if he lands on his front, he's going to be bent the wrong way, and this could end up breaking his back or causing serious injuries. And then there's the net itself. If it's, set up too loose, he's just going to go straight through it and hit the ground. And if it's too taut, he's going to end up just hitting it and stopping too quickly, again causing him serious injury.
On the day of the jump, on the ride up in the airplane, I did have about 30 seconds of about halfway up of what the heck am I doing? Why would I jump out of an airplane without a parachute? I have a wife and a son, and I don't need to do this. What am I thinking? I'd had to deal with myself that if I had any question whatsoever if I was going to be okay or not, when we went to open up the door, if I had any doubt at all, I was going to sit down. Jumped out. As soon as I got out of the plane, I did a little flip. I had some fun, waved at my buddies, and that was my moment, because about 2 minutes of free fall. I'd never been in free fall without a parachute on before, so that was interesting. You're only focused on the net, and as I get lower, it gets clearer and clearer and starts to seem bigger and bigger. My teammates start opening up their parachutes, and now it's just me.
Luke has reached terminal velocity, a steady, constant speed of 209 kilometers per hour.
There were a couple winds blowing a couple different directions, so those higher altitudes actually had to drive forward in the wind to stay in the same spot because the wind's trying to push me away. In free fall, we can steer our bodies now with modern technology. My GPS shows I'm not moving at all. I'm gonna stay right where I am. At that moment, I take a deep breath, I roll over to my back, and wait for impact. When I hit the net, it was, I can't describe it. It almost takes my words out of my mouth to think about what it felt like. I was tingling all over. It didn't hurt whatsoever.
Fuck yeah, buddies! Fuck yeah! Fuck yeah! Woo!
I couldn't believe it. I had no sore spots on my body. It didn't take my breath away. It was kind of an amazing feeling, and one that I hope that I'm not chasing for the rest of my life.
Deep breaths, Luke. Don't put your partner through it. Smashing the world record should be reward enough.
In my book, this is up there with one of the greatest stunts of all time.
Balls of steel, and modest with it. Luke may be one of a kind. But he's not the only stunt monkey to go toe-to-toe with the Grim Reaper and flick him the bird. For most of us, getting up in the morning just means climbing out of bed. But for one particularly eager daredevil, it means climbing this. That's right. This mystery madman likes to start his day by scaling a 100-meter high crane. I'll stick to the cornflakes, thanks. Look, Mum, one hand. Oh, on second thoughts, maybe don't look. What's that, mate? The roof's too icy to try any stunts today.
И он скользкий.
Well, we best pack up and go home early then. Oh, or not. This cool customer in Saratov, Russia sees a nice opportunity to show off his handstand skills. I have to hand it to you, that was pretty pointless. Hello and welcome to the Wheel of Misfortune, where everyone's a winner and the only thing you've got to lose is, your wife? On the outside, she's smiling. On the inside, she's already started divorce proceedings. In Poland, this guy is running late. But missing his train is the ideal outcome for this death wish. Trains in Poland reach speeds of up to 200 kilometers an hour. Amazingly, he survives. Unfortunately, he's still as dense as that train. Up next, a record-breaking stunt that's just plain dangerous. Meet Rich Goodwin, a pilot with a passion for stunt flying.
What I love the most about flying aerobatics is the freedom you have in the air. So you can go up, down, left, right, roll the aeroplane, and it really gives you a fantastically exhilarating feeling.
A feeling he's been hooked on since the first time he got into a cockpit.
I started flying before I could drive at 17, joined the Royal Air Force, served in the Gulf War, and for the last 25 years I've been flying commercial airliners.
But it's clear this Top Gun is always looking for new thrills. So 10 years ago, he took to the skies as a stunt pilot.
I watched this guy in America and thought, oh, I wish I could do that. I was quite old at that point in my life, but then I thought, well, actually, I don't want to look back when I retire and think, I wish I'd had a go at that. So I thought, I'll have a go at it.
That's the spirit. Rich now wows crowds up and down the country with his fearless flying skills. But it was a chance meeting at one of his air shows that led to his latest stunt.
I was speaking to a couple of balloon pilots, and I said, oh, I wonder if we could put a ribbon between two hot air balloons and then try and fly a knife edge between it and cut the ribbon. That might look quite spectacular. I didn't really think they would seriously let me fly towards them at 120 miles an hour, but they said, yeah, let's go for it. So...
So knife edge for us common folk means flying a plane on its side. And a knife edge flight between two hot air balloons had never been attempted before.
Any stunt involving aeroplanes and balloons is going to be challenging. I'm flying the aeroplane low in an unusual altitude. I don't have much directional control over it. I'm trying to direct it between a relatively narrow gap, and I have to go through that gap, and there's no room for error.
To help Rich get through this tight situation, here's Taran with an aviation brain dump.
So the most impressive thing about this stunt is that Rich plans to fly such a precise flight path, but with the plane sideways. So normally when a plane is flying horizontally, the wings create the lift needed to overcome the gravitational pull on a plane. However, when the plane is tilted at 90 degrees to the horizon, there is very little surface area to give this same amount of lift needed to overcome the pull of gravity. So in order for Rich to stay airborne and fly such a precise flight path, he needs to find that lift elsewhere.
So Rich souped up his biplane engine with an extra large propeller to give him the power he would need.
It was a challenge, and I like a challenge.
With his pimped up plane at the ready, it was the moment of truth.
We all arrived, it was still dark, about 5 in the morning. Everyone was very focused on what they needed to do. So the balloons got inflated, they were upright. When I looked at the end of the runway and saw the gap between the balloons, it did look quite narrow to me. And I'm thinking, the guys hanging in the balloons, I can't really say you've got big balls, can I? But anyway.
Of course you can. We love talking balls on this show.
I was thinking, I'm glad I'm not sat in a basket dangling under a balloon with an aeroplane about to fly towards me. Everyone was ready, thumbs up, the wind was good, and we decided to go for it. I could only use one balloon as a visual cue to make sure I went through the gap. So I was always going to be closer to the balloon I could see, because I couldn't see what was under the belly of the aeroplane. The gap between the balloon didn't actually look that big, and it seemed to get smaller and smaller as I got closer and closer. I had a pretty good idea that I'd successfully cut the ribbon, and in order to celebrate, I pulled up and did a couple of rolls. The views you get of the world from upside down, on your side, it's just spectacular. And then it was all over and done with by about 10 in the morning. We went straight to the pub and had a few beers.
Well deserved, I'd say.
It certainly was an exciting event to be part of, and we're looking for ideas for the next stunt. Feel free to write in.
Thanks, Rich. All entries to the usual address, please. Like our low-flying Top Gun, Russian stunt jockey Alexander is about to demonstrate that he is also in possession of a massive pair of man-orbs. He's 27 meters up. And he's on fire. And he can't be bothered with the stairs.
Oh, yeah! Fuck! Yeah!
Hopefully the snow helped cushion those giant boy bags. What's the last thing you should be doing on the ledge of a 45-story building in Dubai? Probably this. One tiny slip, and this ballsy balancing act will come to a pretty swift end. Ah, careful, mate. I wasn't worried. Over in Hong Kong, however, Russian Oleg believes handstands are for wusses. Personally, I think living on the edge is overrated. It's not just the Russians who have a head for heights and a complete disregard for basic health and safety, however. Witness this, Wally, in Lysefjord, Norway. Get a grip, mate. Ah, that's better. Still mental, though. The commute getting you down? Fed up of having to stand up on trains? Not these guys. In fact, they bloody love it. I've heard of hop on, hop off, but they're just taking the mickey. Think climbing up this 150-meter crane is ballsy enough? Think again. In Russia, these lads have turned this potential death trap into their own adventure playground. I'm not sure that's a good thing. One thing is for sure, though, it takes pretty big balls. High above the rooftops, a horror story is about to become a reality. A clown with a cleaver? Leg it! Meet the man behind the nightmare.
My name is Ali Law. I am a social media personality and a parkour athlete.
Ali turned his passion for parkour into a profession. when he started his hugely successful YouTube channel.
My first YouTube video and parkour video was running across the rooftops of this town where I live, Southampton. I just wanted to show the city in a different way, like it was completely amazing. People had never seen the city from above. And it was just great to get that out there. And I'm still amazed by watching it now.
Visit Southampton with its picturesque air conditioning ducts and historic fire escapes. But Ali hasn't always been a wall climbing, roof jumping, movie making machine.
Before I started parkour, actually, I was like really obese. I would play computer games all day and sit in my bedroom, and I was really unhappy. And now it's given me a whole new lease of life.
Ali went from playing video games to the real thing. Some of these moves would give Mario a run for his money. So we know why he does it. But how does he do it? Ginny, help us out.
He conserves his momentum, so when he moves from one move into the next, he's building up this flow of movements, which makes it look great, but also means that he has that momentum to carry him across bigger jumps than he'd otherwise manage. And when he lands the jumps, you'll notice that he bends his knees and sometimes even tucks into a roll. This reduces the impact that landing has on his body by spreading that force over a bigger area and a bigger length of time. And that reduces the chance of him damaging his legs, knees, or even breaking his bones.
Thanks, Ginny. But let's face it, parkour isn't exactly risk-free, is it, Ali?
It's bad, man. A lot of people said to me, once that happened, you should quit parkour and you should stop, but that's not what it's about. It was my fault. I can't blame parkour for that. It was completely my fault for not respecting it and getting complacent with it.
I imagine the very real prospect of plummeting from a high building is a good incentive when it comes to not cocking up.
Worst case scenario is obviously you fall and you die. Practice is key. I trained for 2 years on ground level before I even went onto a rooftop, so I knew my abilities.
With over 500,000 subscribers, Ali's YouTube channel has taken the internet by storm.
My most viewed video on YouTube has nearly 16 million views, and that's a killer clown versus parkour, where a killer clown is chasing me around and I'm jumping across the rooftops of Southampton.
With almost 17 million views to date, Killer Clown vs Parkour isn't just Ali's most popular video, it was also one of his most challenging. Some of these jumps and drops would give Lara Croft vertigo.
The inspiration behind that video was like the Killer Clown thing was a big hit at the time, and it sort of worked perfect.
2016's Killer Clown craze. Happy memories.
It hadn't been done, and I thought up the idea, and it was something I really wanted to film, and it was great, good fun.
The official term for the fear of clowns is coulrophobia. Why they don't just call it clownophobia, I've no idea. But Ali isn't the only one running, sliding, and dangling on the urban landscape. It's a trend that's had a faithful following for over 30 years. It's parkour life. Parkour was invented by a Frenchman, so we'll kick off in Paris. Rail stands are a classic move, but at well over 7 meters, this one is well high. One slip and he could... What the? This, as the French would say, is flipping mental. If he'd missed that sign, he would have made his mark all over the pavement. So how's he gonna get down? Nicely done, that man. This is Swiss freestyle skier Andri Righetti. He's practicing for the Winter Olympics by pretending that the floor is lava. It's like watching a man-sized version of Mousetrap. Obviously, you can't have a pint before doing this. Thanks to the wonders of editing, you can marvel at Andri's awesome video. And not the 20 other times when he completely stuffed it up. Yeah. In Dubai, this fella is doing his King Kong impression. He's got a fear of lifts and clearly hasn't been told about stairs. From that height, if he falls, he'll at least have enough time to think about what a terrible decision he's made. And he tops it off with a ride on the world's most dangerous slide. Well done, your mother will be proud. Or hyperventilating into that brown paper bag. The idiocy continues over in Morocco. 22-year-old Khalid and his mate are dangling themselves from high places. You'd think the blood that would rush to their brains through this trust exercise might help them think twice. But why stop there? Apart from a desire to live, of course. Khalid starts hanging out with his mates on the top of buildings. There are so many things that could spell disaster here. Wind speed, gravity, their own stupidity. Finally from Khalid, dangling from a long drop. And who knows what's at the bottom? Let's hope it's a gigantic pillow. And with these urban freestylers editing their own films, we often miss out on the outtakes. But mucking it up comes with the territory. Now that's gonna sting. Summer nights get pretty sticky in LA, so this stunt junkie is taking a dip. Anthony Booth Armour wears a mask because he's an urban outlaw. His crime? Extreme cliff jumping. His crimes are actually several misdemeanor accounts, including trespass, unauthorized access, and of course, extreme cliff jumping.
Well, my name is Booth, I believe. That's what the kids call me, at least.
Then, Anthony, we shall call you Booth also. So what's with high dives?
My buddy grabbed his GoPro, we went cliff jumping, did some clips. I'm like, dude, I'm taking the footage and putting it on Instagram.
Booth posted, you lot watched it. His cliff jumps became an overnight social media sensation. And so did his death-defying pool dives.
Honestly, it blew my mind.
But Booth's most notorious leap was still to come. A mate told him about a nearby 3-story hotel that stood next to a pool. Catnip to this jump jockey.
I go, walk down, look up. So I'm like, this is doable. This is not even that hard.
Booth isn't one to overthink a stunt.
I'll either hit it or I won't. But, sometimes if you get the bandana on and you're up on a roof, you're going. There's no other option.
The cameras were set and the bandana was on. Booth was going for it. The key to surviving this one is simple. Booth needs to jump far enough to cover the distance between the roof and the pool in the time it takes for him to fall 3 stories. Over to you, Jem.
S equals a half AT squared, so 2S is 20, divided by A is 10, the square root of that.
Jem, mate.
1.4. He has about 1.4 seconds. Whatever speed he's going at takeoff, in 1.4 seconds, that has to be enough to land him in the pool.
So there you have it. If Booth can clear this gap in 1.4 seconds, he'll have a nice, soft, splashy landing. If not, he won't. No pressure then.
So I was doing some run-ups and I was a little hesitant. It was dark. There's some pipes on the roof and a little weird step.
It's not too late to call it a day, mate.
Just I kind of half-stepped it too slow and just went for it. I knew before takeoff. I knew I wasn't gonna make it.
Booth had jumped short and was heading for the hard stuff.
So I was in the air and I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. I pull my hands up And when I hit my feet, I throw them down as hard as I can to get forward momentum into the pool, like literally making it into the pool.
His quick thinking had saved his life, but Abe Booth's feet were not looking good.
I look down, and they are mangled, mangled. This one looks like it was ran over by a tractor, and this one's bones are coming out of it with pool blood. And so I'm like, hospital now.
Before Abe Booth could be rushed into emergency surgery, he had one vital thing to do: upload his clip to YouTube. Along with his 73,000 subscribers, the clip also caught the attention of the Laguna Beach Police Department.
So the police came and arrested me at my house.
Turns out the feds don't like people jumping off of buildings uninvited, so they slapped him with 4 counts of misdemeanor and 100 hours community service. So, what next for the old Boothster?
I'm gonna play some ping pong, probably. I really like it. I'm getting really into it. Won't see me jumping off anything anytime soon.
So there we have it. Abe Booth, extreme pool jumper, YouTube megastar, and soon-to-be table tennis player. To the max, dude. But Mr. Booth isn't the only one blurring the lines between stuntman and stupid. Welcome to our first annual Darwin Awards, the all-natural way to filter out the feckless. And please do not give these a try. At number 6, time for some maths. 1 house plus 1 BMX equals 2 testicles that are now somewhere near his ears. Yes, I'm sure it did. It looks like this guy can kiss goodbye to fatherhood. Which is probably for the best, eh? Number 5, what to do if you don't have time for a back, sack and crack.
My recording isn't very good.
It's a controversial new method to get rid of that pesky body hair. He'll need to steer clear of Vindaloos after this blaze. Number 4 of our countdown of the lethally stupid. It's Human Angry Birds. This impromptu display at a festival has gathered quite a crowd. The headliner must have been rubbish if the best entertainment going is a man being thrown at bins. Yes, everybody clap. Humanity is doomed.
Look at this.
Slipping into number 3 is this American and his exploding vest made out of firecrackers. Wouldn't like to live next door to this guy.
Oh my God, it's only got 1.
He almost seemed surprised that it hurt. Don't think about it too much. They certainly didn't. Number 2 at this year's Darwin Awards. Man versus bear trap. But would a real man use a wooden plank? Centimeters away from being unable to clap again, he pulls it out the bag. And the winner of our Darwin Awards is this clip that escalates quickly. Thankfully, with the race to the bottom over, the man is all right. Well, he's not any smarter, but he has recovered from the bumps and bruises. Whilst we leave the momentally stupid stuff to the professional loonies, there are some stunts you can have a go at. This is Stunt Hacks. 26-year-old Francois from Nepal is a basketball twirling trick master. He can balance a spinning ball pretty much anywhere on his body. He holds the record for the longest ever toe spin with an impressive 21 seconds. I mean, look at him go! But before you kick your trainers off to give this a whirl, let's take it back to basics and start with a finger spin. Here's our man Taran with the science.
The first thing to nail is chucking the ball in the air with both hands, giving it spin as you throw.
Step 1, practice tossing. I'm down with that.
Catch the ball with the fingertip of your index finger or middle finger on your dominant hand. This should give you the best control. And trim your nails. The added bendiness of a long nail would make it impossible to spin. Place your finger where the grooves meet vertically on the ball, so it's got a point to rest on. It's much harder when the grooves meet horizontally. Told you.
Should have done it like our 70s Tash guy. Smooth.
Speed is the key to a longer spin. So once you've got the ball spinning, use your other hand to give it a slap. But not too hard, though, or you'll knock it off. And finally, practice makes perfect, so stick at it.
So there you have it, our ball spinning top tips. Go forth and conquer, lads. Next, what do you get when you cross bare feet, broken glass, and a straitjacket?
My name is Stephen Blatz. I go by Stevie Blatz, and I am an entertainer in the special events industry.
Stevie prides himself on being a jack of all trades. From sword swallowing to DJing. To whatever this is. But it's not all clowning around. Stevie recently attempted a cutting-edge stunt on the streets of the Big Apple.
I'm most known for the walking on broken glass stunt, where I perform walking on broken glass with no shoes, no socks, and with a straitjacket. Obviously, busking in New York City is a big deal. When you have a hustle and a bustle of just regular life, they're not expecting it.
How about something you've never seen before? Somebody walking on broken glass. That's something you don't want to see?
It was really, really hard because people were just walking by, they didn't care, they just were like, no, we don't want to deal with this.
You guys seem to be a lively crowd.
So it was really hard.
With the tough New York crowd to win over, Stevie had to sharpen up his act.
I have had people come up to me all the time saying, this is fake glass. And I'm like, here you go, here's a piece of it. And they like, oh, that's real glass. All right, never mind. And they shut up real fast.
Surely those naysayers must be impressed with your recycling efforts, though, Stevie.
I worked out a deal with a friend of mine who had a lot of beer bottles and wine glasses and shot glasses, and I said, let me take all that. And that's what I did, and you're talking hundreds of these.
Around 300 glasses are smashed to pieces. And if you've ever stood on a lump of Lego, then I imagine the pain is somewhat comparable.
The pain threshold from a scale of 1 to 10 is probably about 8 or 9 when you get a piece of glass in your foot. When you have a tiny, tiny piece of glass that goes right into your toe, it stays there for days. Like, it's hard to get out.
So how does Stevie pull this off without it turning into a bloody disaster?
So what I do is when I first get onto the glass, you know, again, I'm gonna wiggle around a little bit. I'm gonna feel the glass with my feet. I avoid the bigger pieces just because of the edges. Again, they're thicker, but some of them are really sharp. You just have to put your feet in certain directions that it won't really catch on a piece of glass where it's gonna slice your foot. You gotta relax yourself. It's definitely mind over matter.
So that clears up the glass, but what about the straitjacket?
There's ways to get out of it, but obviously I can't describe those ways. So a good escape artist never reveals his secrets.
Thank you, have a great night.
Sorry, folks.
Ah, Stevie, you spoil sport. You're joining us live from the Wet n Wild Championships, where this year's trophy is for the taking. First up, in the surf-off is the Hawaiian entry. It's a strong start. Excellent balance. Exquisite leg work. What a performance this is. All he's got to do is nail the dismount. Oh, he's facing the wrong way. What a shame. Now, can Norway's Oliver Lawson do any better? Lovely technique. Hang on, it looks like he's creating his own waves. Is that allowed? This maverick is unstoppable. He's making mincemeat out of those waves. He's got to be happy with that. Looks like he's going to thank his driver, who... Wait, where's the driver? I'm afraid that is serious grounds for disqualification. Over to the kayak race now, and our competitors are getting into their starting positions. Here come the Americans, looking confident as ever. Team GB, of course, opting for the drop-in.
3, 2, 1.
And they're off. It's a strong start for the Americans. And a full start for the Brits. The Americans powering ahead. The Brits are still not out of the starting blocks. What a race by the Americans. Victory is theirs. Can the British team salvage some pride at least? No. That is embarrassing. The US-GB rivalry continues in the final competition as our two athletes get ready to show their water ski skills. The American's up and running. And what's that he's got in his hand? A Rubik's Cube? Oh, that's just showing off. Again, Team GB slow out of the gate. But it's amazing stuff from the Americans. Any second now. Is it just me, or does this competition seem a bit one-sided? And he's done it. Incredible stuff. The Brits are going to have to pull something pretty special out of the bag to beat this.
That's good, that's good, that's good.
Depends on your definition of good. That's the end of this year's games. Well done to the winners. And to the losers, there's always next year. This plucky stunt junkie is getting set to take a very short run off a very big hill. This is Charlie King. She's an adrenaline head with a taste for the great outdoors.
I've been trekking in the Himalayas. I've flown from Mont Blanc. I like to climb mountains and to get high.
Pardon?
The higher the better.
I think you've got the wrong show, Charlie.
I started paragliding when I was 21.
Right. Charlie likes to spice up her mountain climbing with her passion for paragliding.
Paragliding can be seen as a really good way of getting down from a mountain.
Never heard of a helicopter, Charlie?
So you climb the mountain and then you have your little backpack and you can just fly down. It's just a completely different experience.
This time, Charlie is aiming for one of the world's ultimate highs. She's planning to paraglide from the peak of Tasmania's mighty Mount Kilimanjaro.
I wanted to fly off Kilimanjaro because it's the largest mountain in Africa and it has the biggest potential for top to bottom height that you could get in paragliding. There's 5 kilometres between where we would take off and where we would land, which is massive.
Before Charlie can paraglide from the top of Africa's highest mountain, she's got to climb Africa's highest mountain.
It took 5 days to walk up the mountain because you have to go slowly to acclimatise. To go and fly from somewhere as high up as that, you're in the realm of altitude sickness.
Come on, how can a dicky tummy knock a woman like Charlie off her stride?
Altitude sickness occurs at 1,500 meters, and Charlie is climbing to a height of 5,000 meters. She can get really dizzy and lose coordination at this height. And also, she can even suffer from fluid accumulation in her lungs and swelling in her brain. This is far from ideal when jumping off the side of a mountain.
On the 5th day, we arrived very early in the morning and we had to launch before about 9 o'clock because we'd noticed that the clouds come and gather around the top of the mountain and form a thick kind of band of cloud that you wouldn't be able to fly out through.
With time running out, Charlie and her team had to prep the paragliders. When you're about to hurl yourself off a mountain, it doesn't help if you need to hurl as well.
We were aware that we were against the clock because actually we should have allowed a tiny bit more time than we did. You were a bit affected by the altitude, I think, and not thinking very clearly. So we were in this mad rush just to get unpacked, get in the gliders and take off as quickly as we absolutely could. When I was unpacking my kit, I think I was a bit nervous. You kind of feel slightly drunk, and there wasn't that much room left in my head, I don't think, for thinking anything else apart from, yeah, hurry up but get it right.
After months of planning, 5 days of climbing, it's the moment of truth.
You don't really want anything to go wrong at nearly 6,000 metres. I think you can never eliminate all this risk.
Oh, crap!
It was a bit of a shock, I suppose, to suddenly be back on the ground again. I had absolutely no idea that it wasn't going to work out. Because of the lack of air, I think, you can't feel what your wing's doing. I didn't notice my wing was actually not flying off the mountain straight, it was kind of turned. I came back down and crashed. Because I was like, oh no, I've messed it up. And I've got to carry the glider back up, because the air's thinner, it's, kind of harder work.
Her body and ego may have taken a battering, but Charlie isn't one to fall at the first hurdle. It's time for take 2.
So the second launch, I was very careful to make sure I was exactly facing into wind this time. I checked the wing was straight. Suddenly your feet are off the ground and you're flying over these amazing ice cliffs. And the ground is so far away, 5,000 metres is a long way, and everything just looks really tiny. It's just absolutely amazing. You're just, wow, it's happened, this thing that I've been trying to do and I've succeeded it.
You certainly have. But this far up, Charlie's in this for the long haul. I hope she brought a book.
Only 3 women have so far flown solo from Kilimanjaro. 2 French ladies who flew 30 years ago, and me. So, yeah, it's kind of nice to be the first British woman.
Just flew from Kilimanjaro, how amazing!
Charlie King, we bow down to your aerial awesomeness. So what have we learned in today's episode? If you're jumping out of a plane, a parachute is an optional extra. If you're jumping off a building, aim for something soft. Concrete hurts. A lot. And if a friend suggests you strap fireworks to your body, they ain't your friends, mate. Until next time, laters!